Last October, I took a trip to see my Aunt Heidi and to meet my Uncle David for the first time. I also got to meet their super cute dogs, Timber and Nugget, for the first time too. My Aunt Heidi and Uncle David live in Astoria, which is on the Oregon coast along the Columbia River. Heidi is the life of the party and the perfect hostess. She makes everyone feel welcome and loved. David looks a little intimidating, but he is kind and loving in subtle ways. You would miss them if you don't pay attention. Heidi and David are one of the sweetest couples I have ever met. They have built on each other's strengths and their life is knit close together. They are both so kind and generous, it is no wonder they have been together for so long. Heidi works at the local high school with special needs students, and David is a bar pilot. Bar pilots take a boat or helicopter out to the giant cargo ships and steer the cargo ships from the ocean through the mouth of the Columbia River. Then river pilots take the cargo ships up to Portland. I had only met my Aunt Heidi once before, earlier that summer, so I was a little nervous about meeting her on her home turf. Luckily for me, I have a great friend, Kelly, and a great brother, Jared, who agreed to go with me on my adventure. We left right after school on a Wednesday in October. My brother, Jared, let us take his car that we affectionately call a roller skate because it is so tiny. It gets great gas mileage though, so it was the best mode of transportation. We each took turns driving and it took many hours to get to Astoria. My brother was the last driver and when he drove, I fell asleep. When I woke up, we were in Washington. My brother and my friend decided to tease me and told me that they decided to go to Washington instead. I started to freak out a little because I didn't remember that we had to drive through part of Washington on our way to Astoria. It took quite a bit of convincing before I believed we were on the right track. On our first day, we drove around Astoria and up in the hills and looked for an elk herd. My Aunt Heidi told us all about the logging industry and showed us the different stages of logging we could while we looked for elk. We drove all over and still couldn't find an elk herd. We even went up to her cabin and no luck there either. My aunt was like a mini tour guide because everywhere we went, she would give us the backstory behind it. She showed us where they shot the movie Goonies and Kindergarten Cop. She showed us the school where she worked, and we strolled down Main Street. One of my favorite places we visited on our tour was the Sons of Norway Village. The Sons of Norway is a cultural group that celebrates Norwegian traditions. I go to Sons of Norway in Utah all the time. And I learned that Astoria has a big Scandinavian festival every year in June, and hopefully I'll be able to go to it next year. My Aunt Heidi is an amazing cook, and we had full tummies the entire trip. My favorite meal she made was one morning she made us Monte Cristos for breakfast. They were delicious. It rained off and on throughout our adventure, but that didn't stop us from having fun. We went on hikes and walks outside. We even went to a waterfall, and we could see tons of fish along the river. We went to Cannon Beach and Seaside Beach and walked up and down the boardwalks. We found a great candy store and loaded up on fudge, lemon drops, and sour straws. Along the Seaside Boardwalk, they have a cute little aquarium. We got to feed the seals and pet starfish. Although the aquarium was tiny, it was still tons of fun. A visit to the Astoria Maritime Museum helped me finally understand what my Uncle David does for a living. The museum showed an actual video of my Uncle David doing his job. And they also showed ships and different equipment that they use. In the front of the museum, there is a boat that my uncle donated when they bought a new pilot boat for their company. In Astoria, there is an old boat that was converted to a fish and chip stand. The line can be a little bit long, but it is definitely worth the wait. My favorite night was when we brought home pizza and watched scary movies together while it poured outside. My aunt's house has plenty of open windows, so you feel like you're in a dark forest. It set the mood perfectly for the scary movies. I enjoyed the trip to Astoria, but I learned more about Heidi, and I enjoyed that the most. She is someone I greatly admire and aspire to be like someday. Jared and Kelly were great road trip buddies, and I enjoyed their company, and I'm already looking forward to my next trip back.